darling.
You're so cute, man.
Hey guys, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I want to thank you so much for the continuous support, suggestions and phone calls. Today we have a very informative vlog for you. We will look into the Jamaican livestock industry and a view of how that we can commercialize our small ruminant sector. So let us begin our journey. We went to Barrob Farm and we look at the Jamaican livestock sector, which speaks to the piggery industry, dairy and beef, goat, sheep and rabbit industry, and this comprises the livestock sector. Let's take a look at the piggery sector. That was probably the latest one to be commercialized, and this was done purely on that we had a significant investment into genetics and feed supply to support this sector. We also had processing and marketing being developed as a centralized processing plant and marketing, and it was heavily invested by the private sector. The private sector was who drove this industry based on the demand from the hotel industry, demand from local consumers. So how is it that we can change the small ruminant sector and let it become commercialized? And the hope is that we're going to have to follow these same principles. But let's look first at what commercialized standards mean. This means we have a defined production practice, just like the pig industry and the poultry industry. We have defined production standards and a defined cost of production that drives commercialization, the cost and what is required to meet the consumer needs. So the small ruminant sector commercialization will also depend on these factors: a genetic supplier and a consistent feed supply for forages and grains. We need a commercialized model that shows both from milk, genetics and meat production. We need also a centralized processing and marketing arm to drive the demand that is required for the small ruminant meat across our consumers and in the hotel sector. All this is what is required to drive this sector forward. So we visited Mr. Barrob Farm and we kind of looked at his model. And let us now speak to the small ruminant production models that's required, or what we have in Jamaica. We need what we call genetics and the show guy animals who focus on genetic supply, focus on investing on show goats, defined breed standards, and the meat producer and the milk producer. And we have to kind of see where is it that we fit in this home realm of small ruminant production models. And let's look at the genetics and show guy. He's heavily invested in the breed standards, the conformation. He does a lot of line breeding. He does a lot of performance testing to verify genetics, and he invests a lot in genetics. Total different model. From the meat guy. The meat guy focuses on production traits, these production parameters like meat quality, growth rate, and he does a lot of cross breeding because he lives off of heterosis, and he focuses on feed conversion. That's where his money is. The milk, he focuses on milk yield, that is which is important to his pocket, milk composition, line and crossbreeding to get that hybrid vigor and also maintain some of these milk quality lines, and his focus is on quality.
Where you get your training from, sir?
Academics, sir. Karen and Park.
Big up, who you big up?
Big up Mr. Walker, Mr. Canai. Mr. Brown, boy, anyway.
This is the next important segment
Bless up.
to our small ruminant industry. The support services, the expertise required to drive our human resource, the services and technology provided by our input suppliers, and then access to capital to drive this industry. And these are the catalysts for the small ruminant commercialization. And how is it that goat farming commercialization startup should look at it? Let's look at it as what is missing. What's missing from the sector is private funding to drive the sector forward, and a very vertical integrated model, which is the commercial model for livestock farming in Jamaica. And we've seen this, and this affects the pricing mechanism for both buying and selling goat meats. Why is it that this causes problems? And how we should look at it? Animals are based off live weight, and we can also look at them at genetic merit, and the demand for that animal is important. We have to also look at the three pricing strategies being used. There's the consumer value based, as in what the consumer believes this animal is worth. And we have the cost based pricing, that's how this farmer is going to sell you what it costs him to rear this animal. And then the competition based, as the guys who would say their animals are cheaper or have the better link, and that's how it always works. But this is what will change once the sector becomes more commercialized. Because the solution to these problems is just using like animal traceability that can help with theft and help with us exporting. Centralized policy, which would definitely affect price structure and policy to protect this investment into the small ruminant sector. And we can look at the beef industry as one of those sectors that uses that vertical integrated model, and that example is Juicy Patties. He developed his own stock, and he had stock in the island to use with as in satellite farms, had his own processing plant, and created his own distribution channel. And this was what created a successful livestock industry using large-scale ruminants, a very similar model needed for our small ruminants. So I want to thank you guys for listening to this informative vlog today. We're just trying to break down the sector to a smaller level that we can look at it and see how that we can move forward as we basically drive this industry forward, because guys, it is working. We've seen the results in the field. There are a lot more investments coming into the sector, and I believe it's a little bit more time before the small ruminant industry will mature into a sector for itself.
Nice.
And I want you guys to go and subscribe to Barrob Farm. He has his YouTube channel out now.